Welcome to the CarbSmart podcast, where your decision to embrace low-carb nutrition becomes a fun and delicious lifestyle. I'm your host, Dana Carpenter, here to guide you through the ins and outs of everything low-carb. Have you ever looked back at your past work and realized you'd completely forgotten a really important project you'd done years ago? Because that's what happened to me with this story. I was looking back through my articles on CarbSmart and found this one. I sat up straighter, my jaw dropped, and I thought, how the heck could I have forgotten about this? It's a little embarrassing, to tell the truth, because this is some really important and heartening info. So I'll file it under better late than never and share it with you now. Hey, at least I wrote about it at the time, right? Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss a single episode. Hey gang, we all know that carb restriction causes weight loss, controls blood sugar, and can help treat all of the ugly effects of metabolic syndrome. But what if it could make you younger? Stick around. It should be noted that this is, to some degree, a reworking of an article I wrote in November of 2010, but the information is still fascinating and very useful. So here we go. Can I be allowed a big, fat "I told you so"? When I was blogging, I wrote that eating low carb was slowing my aging process. In 2010, University of California gerontologist Cynthia Kenyon hit the news with an animal study showing exactly that. She'd actually discovered what she calls the Grim Reaper gene and another she calls the Sweet 16 gene, the switch that turns on the former and turns off the latter, insulin and insulin-like growth factor, or IGF-1, which means that by cutting carbs and lowering insulin, you can reverse the process, switching off the Grim Reaper and turning on your Sweet 16, or at least she can in roundworms. Dr. Kenyon started with roundworms, presumably because A, they're inexpensive and plentiful, and B, they have short lifespans. I mean, you try this stuff on a Galapagos tortoise and you'll be passing the experiment on to your great-grandchildren. But roundworms generally hit old age in 18 days and croak by 20 days. Dr. Kenyon managed to extend some of their lifespans to 144 days. That's like you or me making it to 450 years. Woohoo! Many people tell me that they don't want to live to be old. I have long aspired to make it to at least 120. When I tell people this, they look at me as if I just said I was planning to paint my house fuchsia or wanted to take a vacation to Chernobyl. Why would you want to live to be that old, they say. The assumption being, of course, that by the age of 70 I will inevitably be falling apart, and I'm asking for another 50 miserable, achy, immobile, incontinent years. Nuh-uh. Kenyon says, re her roundworms, quote, they weren't sluggish and worn out, they behaved like youngsters. It was a real shock. In human terms, it was the equivalent of talking to someone you thought was about 30 and finding they were actually 60. We're not talking just prolongation of life. We're talking a prolongation of youth. Since Kenyon's original work with roundworms, labs around the world have looked for and found the same genes and the same effect in other higher animals, and they posit it is the same for primates, including you and me. For quite a while, the only scientifically proven method of slowing aging and extending lifespan has been caloric restriction. Kenyon says that the reason caloric restriction works is because it includes restricting carbs, especially seriously refined high-impact carbs, and therefore it damps insulin release. I have to tell you, having eaten low carb for 15 years when I first wrote about Kenyon's work, and almost 29 years later as I record this now, this sounds a whole lot better to me than deliberately going hungry for the rest of my life. Kenyon apparently agrees. She went low carb herself. From her Wikipedia profile, no desserts, no sweets, no potatoes, no rice, no bread, no pasta. When I say no, I mean no or not much, she notes. Instead, eat green vegetables. Eat the fruits that aren't the sweet fruits, like melon. Bananas are a little sweet. Meat, yes, of course. Avocados, all vegetables, nuts, fish, chicken. That's what I eat. Cheese, eggs, and 1 glass of red wine a day. But the diet is unproven, she cautions, and she's not recommending it for all. This is still from the Wikipedia profile. Nevertheless, she's pleased with its performance for her. Quote, I have a fabulous blood profile. My triglyceride level is only 30, and anything below 200 is good. You have to eat something, and you just have to make your best judgment. And that's my best judgment. Plus, I feel better. Plus, I'm thin. I weigh what I weighed when I was in college. I feel great. You feel like you're a kid again. It's amazing. Wikipedia adds that Kenyon tried caloric restriction, but didn't get past 2 days. She was too hungry. Sounds about right. This is what I have written recently. Dr. Kenyon was inspired to start her research with the realization that the fact that various animals have such radically different lifespans, from American sand-burrowing mayflies who live less than an hour, to the ocean quahog, a clam that lives off the coast of Iceland and can make it to 500, I just looked those up, meant that lifespan is governed by genetics. She started looking at the genes that could shorten or lengthen lifespan and ways to turn them on or off. Her first big discovery was the DAF2 gene in a roundworm called C. elegans. DAF2 functions much the same way that receptors for IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, do on the cells of higher animals, humans included. She found that sugar shortened the roundworm's lifespan and made them old. Other scientists ran with Kenyon's research and discovered it functioned the same way in higher animals. Furthermore, the animals not only lived longer, they maintained their youth longer. Reducing insulin and IGF-1 not only lengthened lifespan, but health span as well. Dr. Kenyon has continued research into the genetics of aging and how to adjust the epigenetics, which genes are turned on and which are turned off, and has found several acting through different biological systems. I'll link below to a few lectures of hers that I found on YouTube for those of you who are as geeky as I am. I am pleased to say that several substances she found to trigger favorable epigenetics are part of my routine, whether through dietary sources or taken as supplements. Among these is metformin, the most commonly prescribed drug for type 2 diabetes. Despite having never seen my A1C above 5, I started metformin a few years back, having learned that it is the closest thing to a proven life extension drug that we have, adding an average of 10 years. For a cheap drug with 80 years of use behind it, that struck me as worth a shot. Now I am dying to ask Dr. Kenyon if it's because by reducing gluconeogenesis, the liver's production of glucose, and improving insulin sensitivity, metformin reduces the body's production of insulin. Other life-extending substances Dr. Kenyon describes are niacinamide, which I've taken for ages, resveratrol, which is abundant in the red wine we drink and red-skinned peanuts and 85% dark chocolate we eat, although research suggests that it takes more than we can get from food sources. And fascinatingly, an anti-rejection drug called rapamycin, also known as sirolimus. Dr. Matt Andre, my go-to for anti-aging and hormone medicine, is a big fan and was happy to prescribe it for me. And my insurance is covering it. I'm paying a big $12.75 a month. There's a link below to a piece about it from the journal Aging. But reducing insulin through reducing carbs came first. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The older I get, the more grateful I am that I quit sugar and white flour at 19 and went low carb at 36. but it's never too late to make a difference. See what I mean? This is possibly the coolest thing I know about a low-carb diet, and I spaced it out. How could that happen? Still, I have always been convinced that my nutritional habits were helping to keep me younger. And at 65, that's a happy feeling. Has your low-carb diet made you feel and act younger? If you only started in the past couple of years, what differences, if any, in your perceived age have you noticed? If, like me, you're a long-timer, do you feel that low-carbohydrate nutrition has affected your aging process? And if so, how? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss a single episode. Until next time, stay low-carb, happy, and healthy.